Oh, here we go. Hi, everyone. Joe Van Doren here, and welcome to Facebook Live Tuesday at 2. I'm Joe Van Doren, and I help parents bring out the best in their kids and so that they can watch them grow up to be safe and healthy, successful, and happy. So to start today, I want to ask you, we're going to be talking this month about optimism. So I want to ask you this question. Have you ever had your kids feel like they weren't optimistic, that they were taking everything on as being the worst thing that could ever happen to them forever? Have you seen them say, "Oh, I'm so unlucky," or "I stink at this," or "I'm just no good at this," or any of those kinds of things? You know, that's looking at situations as being pessimistic. And so today I want to talk to everybody about the idea that sometimes we feel angry and sometimes we're sad and sometimes we're frustrated and discouraged and things don't go the way that we had hoped that they would. But the way we believe is a choice for us. And we can choose to be optimistic. We can choose to believe that things are going to be bad forever, or we can choose to believe that it's temporary and that things are going to be better. That word and that feeling, that virtue of optimism is so important in the days that we're living. So if you've ever felt this with your children, today is going to be a great day. We're going to begin the subject of and a short training on this subject of optimism. And over the rest of the month, we're going to be talking about it in different ways. So at the end of the training, I'm going to invite you to sign up for a free copy of the list of virtues, 100 virtues, and the 5 strategies of the Virtues Project, so that you can learn even more about how to bring out the best in your children. And I'll give you details on that later, but for right now, let's get started. So how you cope with bad things happening is going to have an effect on you for a long, long time. And we know that when we're optimistic, that we feel better about life, and when we're pessimistic, it seems like nothing is going to go right. So the 3 things that optimism is based on, I think, is important to know. First off, optimists know that when they're having a bad day, when things aren't going the way they want, or they have some adverse situation come up, they know that it's temporary. They know that it's not something that's going to last forever. Whereas on the other side of that coin, a pessimist believes that this is something that is permanent, that it's going to be forever. This could be in relationships. It could be on testing in a math test and all tests, or everything about school or education altogether. It could be about playing in a sport or gaining some other kind of skill. So that's the beginning. It's not temporary. It won't last forever. It is something that can be overcome. The second part of it that optimist knows is that the situation is isolated. It's only in one particular area, or one area of their life. It's not pervasive across all areas of life. So sometimes we see someone who might have a bad situation come up, and then they just decide that life is terrible, and they make every other part of their life terrible too, because they're just so upset about this, and they begin to believe that they don't have the ability to overcome these things. The third area is that it's not personal. So it's not because I'm unlucky. It's not because I stink at this. It's not because it's my fault. It's not because that it's something about me. It's just not personal. This is just something that happened. So let's work through this together. Let's figure this out. So, for instance, let's say we have a test coming up. We take the test, and we don't do so well. We don't do as well as we expected to do. An optimist would say, well, I'm going to do better next time. And then they would start to make a plan for how to do that, right? An optimist knows that it's that just because I have a bad math test doesn't mean I'm also going to have a bad spelling test. So I move on. I let that go, and I move on to the next thing. And finally, they know that it's not personal. And so, they're going to think about this. This isn't yes, I made this mistake. I'm accountable for that, but it's not something that I can't fix. It's something that I can fix. And that's really what confidence is a little bit about. But optimism is so important to our young people. In fact, I wanted to share with you that optimism is like the number 2 thing that's needed for our children to have resilience. And if you want to know the number 1 thing, just leave me a question down below. What's that number 1 thing, Mr. Joe? And I will write that in there for you. But for resilience, but the number 2 thing is optimism. And so it's and we know that resilience is important to our children and to everybody really. In the work that I do in youth suicide awareness, we know that many times the issue is coping skills and resiliency. And so now you can really see why and how it's so important for our kids to gain this. So what can you do? So talk about times when you were optimistic, when you were hopeful, even when things got tough for you or the situation was adverse for you. But let your children know that you've been, you had this situation and this is how you worked it out. This is what you did. This is how you thought and how you worked through the process, right? And I think it's okay, too, to let them know that there were times that you weren't so optimistic. But let them see that the results of being pessimistic was something that went over into other parts of your life and made you not feel so good. And then finally, you can take the opportunity to just ask some what-if questions. I love what-if questions. What if your friend was angry at you? How would you deal with that? How do you think you would feel, and what would you do? What if you didn't get to be the captain of the team, or you didn't get the lead role in the play? What would happen then? How could you get through that? How would you talk to yourself and work your way through that? So optimism is very important, and I think that it's something that we can all help our children develop by being very upfront about it and with them. So in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about dealing with challenges and the way we think. We're going to talk about accountability and blaming and how that works in with optimism. And we're also going to talk about that inner self-talk and how we can be more positive with ourselves. I think those are all 3 very important. So that's it. That's it for today. Anyway, if you enjoyed this time, I invite you to click on the link that I've provided here and sign up for your free copy of the list of 100 virtues and the 5 strategies of the Virtues Project. Remember, our children and us, all of us, have all of these virtues inside of us already, and our job as parents is simply to find them, to look for them, to mind them, to bring them out of our children, helping them to be their very best self. And also, I'm the host of the Facebook group, Just Right Parenting. I invite you to click on the link below, and where you can join a group of parents who are committed to bringing out the best in their kids. So thanks for watching, and next week I'll be going live. We'll be dealing with challenges in the way we think and with optimism. And so I'll see you on Tuesday at 2 again. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.